So I'm going to talk a little bit about Ernest Rutherford. Ernest was a major player in the science field and played a huge part in what we know as science today. He was born to a family that owned a farm, one of 12 children. He went to school every day, came home, worked on the farm just like any child would of that age. But it was around age 10 when he acquired his first science book that he really started to notice what he was meant for. By the time he was a teen, he had already made quite a name for himself, and several scholarships were rolling in to many Ivy League schools around the area. Through his career, he had many awards, personal and professional accomplishments. He was very, very known in his field of practice. He was elected a fellow at the Royal Society of Canada in London. He published his first book in 1904 titled Radioactivity. In 1908, he actually won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. And in 1911, he married and became a father of his one and only daughter. Shortly after that, he became head professor at McGill College. Added to his resume, Rutherford also accomplished many achievements over his years, including, but certainly not limited to, working with Robert Ball Jr. He developed scientific advances with J.J. Thomson. These were just a few of the many major players of his time. He worked very closely with his students and colleagues and was very sure to always give credit when credit was due with them. He never took the credit himself. He attended the College of New England and graduated with 3 degrees. One of his big things he was known for was improving fog lights of the lighthouses. They were having trouble seeing, the ships from coming far away, so he improved the fog lights so that could be seen now from several hundred meters, which was a lot back then. He helped develop several techniques for turning insulating gases into conductors with high voltage. He discovered radon and the breaking down of atoms to eventually develop radioactivity. And he also was the first to develop the nuclear model of an atom. Rutherford's legacy was one that would live on for many years. Unfortunately, he died in 1937 from complications of a hernia. He was known as the first alchemist and his biggest claim to fame. And he was also known for his passion in physics and compassion for the men who helped him succeed, always giving them credit where credit was due. When you think about physics, one of the big things you think about is electrons. And they, carry a negative charge. They're known to orbit around the outside of the atom and are held there by a magnetic force. And they're little tiny subparticles which are not made up of any other particles but themselves. Electrons cannot be seen by the naked eye. Electrons' place in our universe is huge. They play a role in everything we do day to day. Without electrons, the Earth could not exist. We could not be here on the planet. They play a part in electricity, technology, and, we could not have reached the technological advances we have today if it wasn't for electrons. Another big major player in physics is heat. Heat is a big form of energy. It occurs with kinetic energy and transfers between particles in and around the substances. Heat and its part in physics Heat can only occur when kinetic energy transfers between particles in and around substances. It cannot be created from a scientific standpoint and can only be transferred from one thing to another. It all ties together in the end. Physics, Rutherford, atoms, heat. When you look at the bigger picture, Ernest Rutherford studied the atom, and he created the gold foil experiment, which learned more about electrons this experiment required heat to complete and perfect. He discovered the electron orbited around the atom after creating his model. And he was the one to split the atom and discover that it causes nuclear reactions between nitrogen and alpha particles, which used heat to cause this reaction. Physics in itself is a huge and listed below are my references.